London's East End on Halloween was a macabre tapestry of Victorian shadows and modern revelry. Beyond the Tower of London and the bustling Shoreditch art scene, a darker history clung to the brickwork of Whitechapel, forever marked by the phantom footsteps of Jack the Ripper. For Dr. Alistair Finch, a meticulous criminal historian obsessed with the Ripper case, this Halloween was more than just a historical reenactment. It was his last chance to uncover the identity of the infamous serial killer. He had tracked an obscure 19th century occult diary, believed to belong to a secret society that claimed to have guided the Ripper's hand to a hidden vault beneath Christ Church Spitalfields. His objective: to find irrefutable proof that the Ripper was not a lone madman, but a tool of a darker, organized malevolence. Alistair, whose intellect was as sharp as his skepticism regarding the supernatural aspects of the Ripper lore, believed every occult reference was merely a red herring, an elaborate misdirection to conceal a human conspiracy. His team consisted of two bright but easily spooked graduate students, Emma and David, who shared his academic rigor but less of his stoicism in the face of the macabre. They arrived in Whitechapel on the evening of October 31st, the London air, cold and damp, carrying the scent of old brick, damp earth, and a faint metallic tang, like stagnant blood from a forgotten alley. The historic buildings, their facades scarred by time, loomed against the twilight, their windows glowing with the eerie flicker of carved pumpkins, a festive gesture by local businesses, but their light seemed to pulsate with an unnerving intensity, reflecting off the slick, rain-dampened cobblestones. Their target, a hidden crypt beneath Christ Church Spitalfields, was accessible through a derelict, forgotten entrance in a disused alleyway, a place infamous for one of the Ripper's brutal murders. This crypt was the rumored meeting place of the Obsidian Hand, the secret society Alistair's diary hinted at. He meticulously set up his specialized equipment, thermal cameras, ground-penetrating radar, and air quality sensors to detect any lingering biological or chemical traces. A single battery-operated jack-o'-lantern, its orange LED flickering steadily, sat on a nearby crumbling wall, a practical light source among the sophisticated gadgets and a small, ironic defiance against the grim surroundings. Hours passed. The initial data was frustratingly normal. Thermal cameras registered no unusual heat signatures, ground-penetrating radar showed only layers of ancient burial sites, and air sensors detected nothing but dust and dampness. Alistair, his voice calm and analytical, began his video log. As expected, he stated, adjusting his headlamp, the supposed occult crypt presents no evidence of anything beyond historical decomposition. The theory of a cult guiding the Ripper, in all likelihood, is a sensationalist embellishment. But as the clock's ancient chimes echoed midnight, marking the shift to All Hallows Day, a profound and undeniable shift occurred. The temperature in the crypt plummeted, so rapidly that Alistair could see his breath. His thermal camera flared with an icy blue. Then his EMF detector, previously silent, screamed to life, its red lights flashing violently, registering a massive electromagnetic surge directly in front of them. A faint, rhythmic scraping sound, like bone dragging on stone, began to emanate from the deepest shadow of the crypt. It wasn't loud, but it was insistent, rhythmic, growing in intensity. Alistair froze, his scientific composure utterly shattered by a primal wave of fear. This was not a structural anomaly. This was intelligent. Is anyone here? Alistair whispered, his voice tight with a fear he hadn't anticipated. The scraping stopped abruptly. A guttural moan, low and laden with ancient malevolence, filled the crypt, echoing from all directions as if coming from the very stone itself. It was the sound of profound hunger, centuries old. Then, from the absolute darkness of the crypt's far end, a shimmering, translucent figure began to coalesce. It was indistinct at first, like swirling smoke, but slowly, horrifyingly, it began to take the shape of a man. His features were gaunt, his eyes hollow pits of despair, yet burning with an intense, pulsating orange light. His body was cloaked in shadows, but a glint of a surgical blade, impossibly sharp, shimmered in his ethereal hand. His presence radiated an overwhelming aura of ancient evil and predatory intellect. This was not a residual haunting. This was an intelligent entity, a revenant, Jack the Ripper, or rather, the monstrous entity that had used the Ripper. And he was here. Alistair's academic detachment dissolved completely. This was real, terrifyingly, impossibly real. You were the Ripper, Alistair stammered, clutching his recording device. The spectral figure did not speak. Instead, a torrent of vivid, horrifying images flooded Alistair's mind. He saw 19th century London, a city of gaslight and shadows, rife with poverty and despair. He saw a secret cult, the Obsidian Hand, not guiding a human killer, but summoning an ancient demonic entity, binding it to the city's underbelly through blood rituals. He saw the entity, a formless hunger needing a conduit, a vessel to harvest fear and despair. He saw a man, a deranged surgeon driven by a dark obsession, becoming that vessel, unknowingly controlled by the entity. The murders were not just random acts of violence. They were precise, ritualistic sacrifices designed to tear the fabric of reality, to thin the veil between worlds, allowing the entity to gain more power. The entity sought to culminate its harvest on Halloween night, to solidify its physical manifestation through a grand, final sacrifice, ushering in an age of fear. The pumpkins outside, Alistair realized, were not just festive. They were unintended. Beacons, their orange glow mirroring the entity's malevolent eyes, drawing its attention to the surface. The images clarified a horrifying truth. Jack the Ripper was merely a puppet, his brutality a means to an unimaginable, occult end. The entity itself was the true Ripper, a monstrous intelligence bound to the very stones of Whitechapel, and on Halloween, its power was at its apex, demanding not just a physical sacrifice, but a spiritual one, a mind, a soul, to become its permanent conduit. And Alistair's obsessive, skeptical mind, which had delved so deeply into its history, made him the perfect vessel. The crypt grew colder, thicker with unseen presences. Alistair felt phantom hands, icy and skeletal, pulling at his clothes, tearing at his hair. Emma and David huddled together, whimpering. The EMF detector screamed, its red lights a blinding, ceaseless red. The whispers, a cacophony of ancient chants and guttural demands, filled his mind. Join us, become one, serve the shadow, eternal harvest. The spectral Ripper entity glided closer, its hollow orange eyes fixed on Alistair. Its translucent hand reached out, not for his throat, but for his mind, seeking to transfer the unending burden of its predatory purpose. Become me, its silent voice echoed in Alistair's thoughts. Witness the true horror, unleash the night. Alistair, caught between terror and a sudden profound understanding, fought against the mental intrusion. He recalled an obscure passage from the occult diary, dismissed as a meaningless fragment, a symbol of disruption of the veil, an ancient Gnostic glyph that, if invoked with genuine fearlessness and a pure intention to protect life, could temporarily sever the entity's hold on the physical realm, forcing it back to its dimension. The glyph, a series of interlocking triangles surrounding a central eye, was believed to be effective only on Samhain, when the veil was thinnest, and if dedicated to an act of genuine courage and defiance against overwhelming evil. With a desperate surge of adrenaline, Alistair broke free from the mental hold. "No," he gasped, forcing the word out. "I will not be your puppet. I will not serve your shadow." He began frantically drawing the disruption of the veil glyph on the dusty stone floor with his finger, recalling every detail from the diary. Emma, despite her terror, saw his desperate effort and, remembering a similar diagram from an old archaeology text, instinctively helped him complete the intricate pattern. David, though still trembling, focused the portable spotlight on the glyph, amplifying its presence. The phantom hand still tugged, but less with malevolence, more with a desperate pleading urgency for completion of the ritual. As the glyph was completed, it pulsed with a faint, shimmering blue light, starkly contrasting with the dominant orange. The spectral Ripper entity roared, a sound of ancient fury, its form flickering violently. The orange glow in its eyes wavered, replaced by a momentary flash of frustration, then pure, unadulterated hatred. The entity lunged, but as it crossed the boundary of the glowing glyph, its form distorted, shimmering violently as if struggling against an invisible barrier. The ancient chants and whispers ceased abruptly. The surrounding shadowy figures, the remnants of the Obsidian Hand's influence, recoiled, their orange glows dimming to nothing. Alistair, seizing the moment, remembered another detail from the diary. The entity's ultimate weakness was exposure to raw, untamed light, a light that mirrored its consumed victim's innocent life force, not the dim, ritualistic glow it preferred. He looked at his small, LED-lit pumpkin, still flickering on the crumbling wall. It was a simple, harmless object, but now it felt like a weapon. With a desperate prayer for the victims, Alistair grabbed the pumpkin. "This is not your harvest, demon," he screamed, his voice ringing with defiance. "This is the light of their memory, the light of their stolen lives." He hurled the glowing pumpkin towards the entity. The pumpkin struck the spectral form, not with force, but with a sudden blinding burst of pure, golden light. The Ripper entity convulsed violently, letting out a final, ear-splitting shriek that tore through the crypt, a sound of ancient pain and absolute defeat. Its terrifying form dissolved into shimmering golden particles that drifted upwards through the ancient stone ceiling, ascending into an unseen, ethereal light, finally banished from the physical realm. The crypt returned to its chilling stillness, but the oppressive malevolence was gone. The EMF detector fell silent, the temperature normalized. The pervasive scent of decay vanished, replaced by a faint, clean smell of fresh earth. Emerging from Christ Church Spitalfields at dawn, Alistair Finch was a changed man. His cynicism was utterly shattered, replaced by a profound conviction in the existence of something far older and more terrifying than human evil. His historical quest had led him to a spiritual confrontation and, unexpectedly, to a victory over an ancient malevolence. He never completed his book identifying a human Ripper. Instead, working with Emma and David, and with the support of the church and local historians, he published The Obsidian Hand, Jack the Ripper and the Shadow of Whitechapel, detailing not just the historical context, but his terrifying encounter, the true nature of the entity and the ritual that bound it. He advocated for the permanent preservation of the crypt, not as a tourist attraction, but as a sacred warded place, a testament to the battle fought. From that Halloween forward, the grim legacy of Jack the Ripper began to shift. Viewer reports of unsettling whispers or shadows haunted Whitechapel. A subtle sense of peace permeated the ancient alleys. The entity was banished, and Dr. Alistair Finch, the once skeptical criminal historian, became an unlikely guardian of London's occult history, ensuring that on every Halloween, the chilling tale of Jack the Ripper was remembered, not as a mere human mystery, but as a poignant narrative of ancient evil confronted and finally defeated. The jack-o'-lantern outside Christ Church Spitalfields became a permanent fixture, always lit, a silent vigil against the shadows.